Everybody has it? Please see that you change the date. It's not February. God knows where that came from, but anyway. Approved last year. Okay. So what are we going to do today? We are going to learn a new statement, the altered table statement in MySQL, right? In SQL basically, but not everything is available in MySQL. So I'll let you know what other options are available, but definitely you need to only work with what's available in MySQL. So that's the idea today, to learn about this new statement, what are the variations and so on, and then do an assignment. And what I'll also do is, after I finish today's assignment, I'll put another assignment on Blackboard, which is not for marks, but you could practice it for your exam because it has something that I have necessarily not done in class. Okay, I've mentioned it, but I have not done it. So if you remember, I mentioned the case statement in update, but never gave you an assignment for it. So if you would like to practice it for midterm, I would recommend practicing it. It's a very small assignment, won't take you more than 10 minutes, but just so that you've seen it before the exam. So for the exam, if you've been attending classes regularly, understanding what is happening in class, doing your assignments and doing them fairly well, you're fine. You don't need anything else, right? That's the whole idea. So again, please remember, you can get your textbook, you can get your class assignments, anything that I have done in class, and the MySQL manual, I would highly recommend that you download it on your laptops. Thinking why I don't need it, it's up to you, but I would recommend. No internet access will be allowed except the Blackboard. So you will download the question from Blackboard and you will put the solution back on Blackboard. It will be an entirely hands-on 3 hours, 2 hours, 50 minutes exam in class. Okay, that's what it is. So you should be used to it because you've been doing your assignment every week. So it shouldn't be something new, but of course an exam is an exam. Okay, that's the only thing that you have to remember. But you will be fine. I think you will be. You guys are doing okay. Okay, so let's look at this. So I have, again, I would definitely pay a little more attention to comments because they're simple, but even then some students are not paying attention to it. So, and I've told you, all you have to do is take my comments and copy and paste, like, and change a few things. So if I'm storing information about projects, maybe you are storing information about employees or something else. It says create a database and a table therein to store information about projects. To work with the altered table statement today, use it to change the name of the table and add, modify, and delete field descriptions. What is an altered table statement? Still now you've finished CRUD. You were able to create a table. You were able to read from the table, which is select statements. You were able to update records in the table, and you were able to delete records from the table. Now let's look at another scenario. Suppose a company has a big database, many tables in it, and things have been going on for a while, and then the programmer just leaves and another programmer comes in and the company wants you to make changes to the structure of the table for whatever reason. Maybe a new field needs to be added, an old field needs to be dropped completely from all records, or things like that. So you're changing the structure of the table, not the records. I'm not talking about records. I'm talking about the structure of the table. So nothing that you've done till now will allow you to do it. I mean, all you've done is work with data. So today we are going to learn how to change the structure of the table. It could be the name of the table. It could be adding a new field. It could be modifying a pre-existing field. It could be deleting a field, whatever. But you're working with the structure of the table. You'll say, oh, I'll just drop the table and recreate it. But keep in mind, maybe the table already has thousands of records and you don't want to kind of, bother about that at all. So we'll stick to, oh, I know how to do this. So we'll do assuming that you have no choice but to do it. You just you don't have the choice of dropping the table and starting fresh. So you should know how to do it. So what I've done here is I've made a very bad table to begin with. Okay, bad doesn't mean I haven't used the types or something correctly, but look at what bad means to me. Okay, so these just normal, like dropping the database, creating it and using it, dropping existing table if required. Of course, we don't require it. Now let's look at the table. It's not very good at all. One, it doesn't have a primary key to begin with, and that was the minimum. Every table must have a primary key and all fields must be atomic in nature. That means you should have not repeating groups of data. So that's okay. Description of project, not a good name at all. It's such a big name with no underscores, it's difficult to read. Now that I say it, maybe you know what it is. The next one is contractor on job. Again, not a very easy field to read. Also, number, I've used a reserved word here. I usually don't use reserved words and I also tell you not to use them, but SQL doesn't mind at all. But I would like to change that number from maybe project ID something like project ID. Also, since I am following a convention, I don't want to call my table projects with a K. I want to call it TBL underscore projects with a C. So there are things I need to do, right? And of course, there is no primary key. So what do? Maybe I can make the project ID a primary key. Why? Because it's a good candidate. Every project has a unique ID, and I can make that. So if there is nothing that is a candidate, you can add a new field and make it the primary key. If a field already exists and it looks like a good candidate, you can make it the primary. You'll have to decide, what do I need to do? So here number looks okay to me. It could be a project ID and I can make it the primary key. So we'll learn how to add a new one if required, or make a pre-existing one a primary key. We will learn how to change the names of fields. I don't like those names at all. We will also learn how to change the size or the type of a field if required. Okay. And if I want to add new fields, we want to do that too. To this table, I do want to add a couple of new fields, the date it started and so on. So the year and a couple of more fields. We'll talk about it when I come. And I would like to delete a field, though there was nothing I wanted to delete, but I want to show you delete again. So I'll delete one of the fields, contractor on job. Okay. So a few things to be done. So new things to be learned today. Okay. So let's see how it has to be done. Also, you will find that I've given a new statement today. I've said show create table. So you know what describe does. Describe gives you the description of the table. These are my fields, these are the types, and so on. So that's the description. You also know show tables. We've done that too before. It shows you what tables are present in your database. We only have one, but we've already done that statement. This is a new one for you today. I want to show you when you write your show create table command, how does MySQL interpret it? Like how does it save it in its database? Okay, we will say why, just so that you know why are you able to use reserved words, or which engine is being used. Do you remember engines? We talked about database engines a few weeks back. I told you there are many options. I think 10 in MySQL, 10 to 11, of which the two common ones are MyISAM and InnoDB. And they work differently. Some give you some privileges which are different from other engines. Some do a job a different way, more efficient than other in a particular situation. So you can always change the engine of your database if you do not like the one being used at the server. So I'll show you that too today. Okay. And then the insert is simple. I have 4 records here. I've given them 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've just given a short description. Outside house painting, Murphy is taking care of it. Keller is taking care of this. Jackson is doing roofing. And then notice, since it's not a primary key, I've just added 2 projects and they won't even have a primary. Like I've just added 2 projects with no project ID. They'll go to default of 0. Now that's not a good design at all. Like even you can say, it's like a student having a student ID of 0. Doesn't make sense at all. So definitely that table is not a good table. It's a bad table. So we are learning today how to improve that table without dropping it and recreating it with a create table command. The table exists, records are already in place, and I still want to change it. Let's see how we can do that. Okay. And then select all records from the table. So I'm going to run my script till here, till the selection. And I want to show you this result, which of course is not very clear here. So I'm going to do a Control-C from here, open it up in Word maybe. So it's not a good idea to open it in Word. I could have just, you know what? I could have just done it here if I can. Let's see if I can just add a new script file and do it here. Yep, I can. Here. This is the create table command that MySQL engine has saved for itself. Looks very like yours, but things are extra. 1, notice how it puts every identifier in ticks. These are not quotes. These are not single quotes or double quotes. These are ticks that are below the escape key on your keyboard. So you have that option of putting your identifier names. And what are identifier names? Name of the project, name of the table, name of the fields. These are all identifiers. They're identifying something. So you have the option, and some programmers do it. They put all their names in ticks. And that's why you were able to use a reserved word, because everything goes in ticks, so it doesn't confuse it with a reserved word. That's why MySQL allows you to do that. So the others are okay. There is an int 11 here, which kind of looks odd. You never said that I want an int of size 11. For your information, this is not size at all. 11 has nothing to do with int. Int will take 32 bits, standard. No more, no less. 11 says that when I print the value of this number, I will take 11 spaces. So that's the size of the display, nothing to do with storage at all. So don't confuse it. You may see these numbers with tiny int, small int, at many other places too, right? In the description also it says int 11, has nothing to do with the size or the storage. And also notice that it has added this in your create table statement. You never had it. But what does it say? It says the engine I'm going to use is my ISAM. That is the default engine that is installed in MySQL latest version. So if you check your INI file, it will tell you my ISAM is being used. And that tells you, oh, if I want to change it, what do I do? Nothing. You just come here, change this my ISAM to InnoDB, and there that becomes your new engine, right? So you can change the engine of for a particular table, and you'll say, what is this engine? Read a little about it, but in very layman and simple terms, an engine is what it is. An engine drives the database, and it says, this is what you can do with the table. So while somebody is making an update in the table, it gets locked. Nobody else can read from it. So there are certain rules that are followed by each engine. And some engines are definitely required if I'm using foreign keys. We'll talk about foreign keys after the steady break. Then I will definitely have to change my engine. My ISAM does not support foreign keys. We'll talk about foreign keys afterwards. And then it says the default character set is Latin 1, which is our English kind, right? So again, if you wanted to change it to German, please go ahead and change it, right? So what it will start using? It will start using the characters, the German character. So that's the default values. You never gave them, but they're added by the database engine itself. So that gives you an idea. Oh, if I want to change the engine, I can do it right here, or definitely you can do it in the set statement. And if I want to change the character set, I can do it right here, or of course you can change it in the set statement with the set statement. Okay. So what is Latin 1? It's just a language. We all know that. But what does it give? It gives our character set. The English character set is what it is. So go ahead and read about it. And engines are one is different from the other in its properties, in how it works, which is more efficient for a particular situation. So you can store tables using different engines. So it's not as if all the tables in a database have to use the same engine. Tables can follow different engines, right? So notice how I can put the engine right with the create table command, which I've never done till now because I have never changed it, but I will. And then you should say, oh, that's how I change it. So that's your create table command, so that you know. And that's why MySQL does not bark when you use reserved words, because it puts all your identifiers, names of tables, names of feeds, names of databases, everything, anything that you use, user-defined variables, so they're not variables, but user-defined identifiers, it puts it in ticks. And therefore you can use a reserved word, right? That's why you can use a reserved word. Okay, so it's working. Everything looks okay, but look how untidy these two projects are. How can a project have a project ID of C? So definitely this is not a good thing. So let's start learning how to change the table, assuming that you cannot drop it because there is thousands of records in it or whatever, but you have to change the structure. Okay, so let's start. The first thing I'm going to do is, so I've kind of put my comments here as to what I'm going to do, and then if I need to show you something extra which necessarily is not here, I'll show you that too. Okay, so it says rename the table to table projects. That's the first thing I want to do. Deleting any previous one by that name. So I'm going to rename my table. I'm going to call it TBL_projects with a C, just because that's the convention I'm following. It's not a rule. I'm just following that convention. So I want to change it. But before I change it, I'll assure that there is no table by the same name, because remember, two names cannot be the same. So I'm saying, oh, if there is a table by that name, just drop it and now use the name. You have to be careful about that too. Dropping doesn't mean, oh, it was somebody else's table in the database and you just dropped it. But this is just telling you, yes, you've dropped the previous table and I'm going to rename it. You cannot rename it to a name that already exists. So you're dropping it. You don't care whose table it is, right? You drop it and then you can rename it the same name. If you're sure that there is no other table called TBL project with a C, go ahead and you're fine. But I don't know, so I'm going to drop it first. And we know the drop command. Drop the table. Which table? TBL project. Oh, so I don't know if it exists. So let's say if exists. Otherwise, we can get an error. And what is the name of the table you want to use? So for whatever reason, you are hell-bent upon using the name TBL projects. And if somebody has that table by the same name, you don't care. You want to drop it. Of course, not how the world works, but just so that you know. Now, I want to rename my table. Here is where you learn your alter table statements. Alter the table. Very English-like, right? It's very English-like, alter the table. Okay, which table do you want to alter? The one that was called projects with a K. That's the table you want to change. What do you want to call it? You want to rename it. to what? I think it's rename. It's always a good idea. Rename to, yeah, I'm right. And now I put the semicolon. Oops. And the 2 is not the 2, it's a 2. Where are you? There you are. Very English like, alter the table projects, give it a new name, rename to the new name. So why did I drop TBL projects before I renamed my table? Because if it already exists, I cannot use the same name. So I'm just being petty. I just said, I don't care whose table it is, drop it and use that. Of course, not in the real life, you won't do it. So that's your alter table command. And you've just learned you can rename a table by using rename. I'm going step by step, but I didn't have to finish here. I could have just started, keep on going, but I'll write them in different lines so that we know what we are doing. Now keep in mind, from this point onwards, the table is called TBL projects now. You renamed it. So after this, projects does not exist anymore. What is it called? Table projects. And if you want to see it, let's do it. Let's say show tables. Use that command and I'll run it. So notice in here, it was called projects. And now it is called, why didn't my show tables come up? Did I have an error? No, I don't have an error. That's strange. I just ran it. Oh, there. Really strange. I don't know. I just ran it again. Notice now it is called TBL projects. It's changed. The name has changed. So every alter, please double check that it is working. Though we know it is working, we always double check our answers. So this is what it was called before. Where are you? Here. And this is what it is called now. Make sense? So you've changed the name of the table. Just so that you know, this was the description, right? What you see, this was describe the table. So again, notice how it puts an 11 in the type. Ignore it. Okay, just ignore all numbers in numeric data types. I'm not saying in character. I'm not saying in varchars. I'm talking numeric. They don't make, they're not referring to storage. Okay. Okay. So yes, worked up. I've renamed it. Now this was just to show you that it works and it was for you and me. So I'm going to comment it out. Otherwise, the more you have, the difficult it becomes. Now it says change the name of the number field to project ID and make it the primary key. Right? So it says, oh, I see a field called number. It can act as a primary key. Some fields have data in it and some don't have in it. So I want to kind of take care that all the fields have a value for it. And remember, I don't want to do this manually. I'll tell the system to do it for me. I'll use auto increment, right? So records that already have it, fine, let them have it. And it will start. So if I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, it will start from 5 automatically. I don't have to worry about it. So I'm saying number is a good candidate. If there was no candidate, then I couldn't have done this. But I'm seeing that number is a good candidate for the primary key. So I'm saying I'm going to change that column. I'm going to give it a new name. Do you have to? Necessarily not, but I want to. And I'll give it a new type if I want, but I'll stick with auto increment int because I don't have to do anything in that case. So keep in mind, when you're adding new fields, you have to be careful. Is it null or not null? So if you say not null and you don't give it a value, it will say, what do I put it in value? You'll have to give me a default for it or something. Okay, so let's see how to change it. So the command is again simple. Let's alter the table. What is the name of the table now? TBL projects. What do you want to do? You want to change a column. Notice how I've written. Change column allows you to change the name and the type. Remember to give complete definition. So what does it mean by remember to give complete definition? Anything that you want the new definition to say. Not null, default, whatever. Even if you've mentioned it before, you have to change it. Change means change it. So give the new definition. Okay. So what was it called before? Number. You're changing this column. Right? What do you want to call it now? Project ID. That's how you change the name. Okay. Now it was int. If you want, you can make it a small int or big int. It depends on you. But I'm sticking to int because I want it auto increment. So any flavor of int will do. You think int is too big, you can use a short int. You can use a medium int. So you can change the type too. It's up to you. Okay. So I'm going to say I still need to use an int, but I'm going to add unsigned to it. Can project IDs ever be signed? No. I'm going to add unsigned to it. And I'm going to add primary key property to it. There. I'm not putting default of 0 or anything. Doesn't make sense. The project ID cannot have a default of 0. Doesn't make sense. Okay. And now the question is, some fields have that value 1, 2, 3, 4, but some don't 0, 0. So will I manually go and put in a value? I don't want even to do that. It's not that I'm lazy. It's too much work, though it's only 2 records, but it's too much work assuming there are thousands of records there. So I'm going to say, you know what? Just make it auto increment. Remember auto increment property? Automatically. So with auto increment, it is necessary that the type be any flavor of int. You have to keep that in mind. So making it auto increment is the easiest thing to do. I don't have to bother. Automatically, it will go into the table, change the number to project ID, look what values are available. If there are duplicates, it will bark. Right? It will say, oh, there are 2 ones. I can do that. Then you'll have to think about it. I'll show you what happens. And then if records do not have a value in the number field, it will automatically give them numbers in sequence, automatically. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are already taken. It will start from 5, 6, 7. Now, just so that you know that if you don't like the 1, 2, 3, 4, but you want to go 1000, 1001, 1002, you can tell it to say, don't start from 1, start from 1000. You can do that too. Okay, so sometimes you don't want to start with 1, you want to randomly start with 10,000 or 999 or whatever. I'll show you how to do that too. But let's see if this works. So I'm saying change my column number to project ID. It's still an int. As I said, any flavor of int will do because I'm using auto increment, but I made it unsigned. I removed the default and I said it was a primary key. Let's see if this works. How will I know if it works? I'm going to describe my table again. Which table? The table is now called table projects. I'm just going to run these 2 lines, nothing else. We've already run the script before. So I'm going to run these 2 lines. Notice something happened. What happened? Field number is now called project ID. What is its type? Int 10 unsigned, doesn't matter. Why has it gone from 11 to 10? 1 for the sign. So 11 to 10. Okay, but again, it's not concerning the storage. It's the primary key now. Are null values allowed? No. And it is an auto increment key. Things have changed. You'll say, but what about the records? Can I see the records? Sure, let's do a select all. Do a select all. What happened to the records? Select star from the table. Every time you do a change, to satisfy yourself that it worked, you will have to kind of do this. Not for me, for yourself. When I want it, I only want to see the final result. There. Notice what it has done. 1, 2, 3, 4 were already present. It started with 5, 6, and so on and so on. Now it looks like a primary. I've taken care of that. Let's see what happens if there were 2 projects with 1, which I could have done. Let's see what happens. Okay? It says something is wrong. It says you have 2 1s, you have a 3 and a 4, and you're saying it's a primary key. Like that won't work. I can do it. So you'll say, then what? Then what means you'll just have to create a new field for the primary key. So you can use a pre-existing field for the primary key if you know that it is a good candidate for the primary. I saw that it only had 1, 2, 3, 4, which you can always do a select star. You can always see, are they all unique and so on. Only then you should say, oh, make it the primary. If it had 2 1s, I couldn't have made it the primary key because it's saying alter table causes auto increment resequencing results in duplicate V and so on. It says I can do this for you. It gave you an error, right? So if an existing key is a candidate, then you do it. So you're assuming that it is a good candidate for the primary key. So you can make a note for yourself here. It can be a primary key since it has unique values. I mean, you'll say 2 or 0, that's not unique, but that was a default, right? So for that, it takes care. Auto increment takes care about it. It says that's okay, I can do that. But I can do it if you have 2 double 1s or 2s or 3s, I can do that. So you have to be careful. Change the name of the 2 and make it a primary key, or you can say since it is a good candidate of a primary key. Since it is a good candidate for the PK. So you just can't do it like out of the blue. You have to think about it. I kind of will remove this just because unique may cause you thinking, oh, 0 is not unique, but this one is something that will make sense. So now I should be again able to do it. So I'm fine, it added 5 or 6. Now for whatever reason, if you don't want to start with 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 will not change. Keep that in mind. 1, 2, 3, 4 will not change unless you change it manually. So you have to go in and change it, update it. But if you wanted to start not with 5 but with 1000 just for the heck of it, I really don't know why you would do it. But if you wanted to, you can always change it here. How will you change it? You can say the new value of auto increment. So I'll put it in comments afterwards, but I mean, this is for you. You say, I want to start with 1000 for whatever reason. You can do it. You can write a note for yourself and start auto numbering from 1000. Say. Remember, it cannot be a negative value because you've said it's an unsigned field. You've already said that. So now, 1000. Okay, here, just for the heck of it. Let's see what happens. Notice something. Oh, no, doesn't work. What's happening? Like it works and then I have to run it again and then it works. That is really strange. No, it's still not working. So something is wrong. Let's see what is wrong. Alter table projects auto increment is equal to 1000. No, looks fine to me. I'm going to do this again. No, all I said was it's not working, but why not is what I'm thinking. Alter my table. What to could be, you know what? It could be a verb or something. Set auto increment. Let's try set. That's strange. It's not giving me an error. Okay, no, set doesn't work. Okay, good. Something is missing, that means. I don't know whether I have it in my notes. I thought it was just, you know what? We just did, I did it with the other section the other day. Yeah, there it is. See? And I'm positive it worked the other day, like it does. That is strange. Why is auto increment not working? Auto increment spelling is right. Run it again. It's not. Oh, do you think? Oh, I know why. Oh, here. You tell me the reason. I know why. I did the auto increment after I changed the column. I have to do the auto increment before I change. So it's used auto increment. Now, after this, if I add a record, it will start from 1000. Logically, it's at the wrong place. Here, let's pick this up. Makes sense now. You always have to think why things are not working. I'm going to place it here. Now can start auto numbering. It's up to you. You don't have to do it, but I'm just showing you you can. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1000 and 1000. So I had placed it after using auto increment in my field. So it did that. That point onwards, now auto increment will start from. I wanted to show you that it works. So if you insert a new record, it will be 1000. The key will be 1000. But I now placed it before I did the change. So now notice 1, 2, 3, 4 were the previous values, and now it has started 1000, 1001, and 1002, and so on. So you can start auto incrementing not necessarily from 1. You can start it from any value. Okay, just so that you know. So it's not very useful in our case, but you have to know that I can do it. You have that option of how I can do it. Okay, so clear? So let's do this. So both alter statements are working. We've double checked. We've done a show table and so on, and we know they are working. Okay, now let's go forward. So every time you do a change, just double check that it works. Now it says change the names and type for the other two fields. So let's do that. Okay, let's alter the table again. Now, do I have to keep writing alter table over and over again? No, you can write alter table, whatever, and then you can write all your statements separated by comma and a semicolon at the end. Let me write 2 for you at least. Because I'm doing it for the first time with you, I'm kind of going step by step. Okay, what do you want to do? You want to change the names and the types of the other two columns. Okay, so the other two columns are contractor on job and one more, description of the project. Okay, so what do I want to do? So change, okay? So change the column. Which column do you want to change? I'm just going to copy so that I don't make a mistake in the Control C. Change this column. What do you want to call it now? Let's see, what do we want to call it now? I want to still call it description of project. It's not a bad name at all, but I'm going to make it readable, right? Okay, now you're also changing the size. I'm saying size slash type. I'm only changing the size. Varchar, I can change varchar. You could change it to char if you like, but like you could, but you have to think what's the data in it. Can you change it to numeric? No, the description is non-numeric. So you can say, oh, now make it an integer. That would be really silly. So you're altering the table, but be careful that you're doing it intelligently. Okay, so now I want to change the size. Varchar. I don't know what it was before, but I'm just going to change it to 100. Just for the heck of it. I think it was 50 to begin with. Just showing you how to do it. And then anything else you want, you have to add it here. Keep in mind, you can say, oh, I've changed the name and the size, but not null should remain. No, you have to do it. If you're changing, you have to write the whole definition again. So please again keep in mind. Rewrite complete definition. This is important. Some students forget to put the not null back and then just changes to null then. It was not null to begin with. I'm still keeping it not null. Notice I'm doing more than one changes. I'm going to change another column. So when I have two change columns, I have a comma in between. And the second column was called contractor on job. It's a varchar 10. Okay, you can change it to 50. Here, and I'm going to call it the same with underscores. Just to show you things, nothing else. Definitely, I want to change the name. And as I said, you can change it to a varchar 10 was too less. 40 or 50 should be good enough, whatever you like. And remember, if you want it to be not null, see that you add that definition. And now put a semicolon. So the alter table statement can have as many change columns or modify or delete, whatever we'll do more now, drop. But you put commas between those statements and then you put a semicolon at the end. Okay. So semicolon is a terminator in MySQL. In the SQL language, terminates a statement. And commas just because I have more than one. It will change it. How do I double check? Take your description again. I'm going to remove it from here because I don't want to keep seeing so many and put it here. And I'm going to run the script. Do you notice in the last one? Here is the description, if that's more clear. The fields have changed their size, the fields have changed their name, and the changes have been made. You'll say, what was it before? When you started, it was this. Varchar 50, Varchar 10. That were the names. They were both, oh, nulls were allowed. I didn't realize that they were allowed or not allowed. I made them not null now. I said every project must have a description and every project must have a contractor. If you don't agree with it, you say, oh, maybe the contractor is not yet allocated. Sure, no problem. We'll say it can be none. That's okay. Here it was a default of null, keep it. But whatever you want to keep, you have to copy. You have to give the complete definition. So it's not a rule that you make it not null. I'll keep one the same and we'll change the other. Just so that you know I can do whatever I like with change column. So change column allows you to change the name, the type, the size, and any other properties if you. That's what change column does. Okay. Now let's move further. So it works. So I've kept the default null just to show you you're still keeping the old definition. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. It says change the field type or size of description to 120. You'll say, why didn't you just do it here? You made it 100. Just because I want to show you stuff, guys. That's why I didn't do it. Just to show you that there is a modify column now. And the difference between modify and change is you can change the name with modify. That's the difference. So modify column is used to change the type or the size. Both are allowed. Doing it. Old properties need to be rewritten. Please don't forget. And I want to change it to 120. And again, I know this is silly. I just changed it and now I'm modifying it. But I'm showing you that I'm just showing you all that is available. Okay, and I only have 2 fields. What do I do? Like I only have to work with those 2 fields, right? So I'm going to modify the column. Notice the difference. I cannot change name with modify. So if you need to change the name, you will have to use change column. If you don't want to change the name, preferably use modify column, though I could have used change column, description of project, description of project. You know what I mean? You'll have to repeat the name again. Why would you do that? But you can. It's not that you cannot do it. It's just silly to double write the name again. So that's modify. And let's see if it works. I'm going to take this again, the description, remove it from here, put it here. Every time I just remove it from the old place and put it at the new place so that I can show you the change. Notice 120. From 100, I went to 120. So modify also works. Okay. So now you know there is a change column and you now know there is a modify column. Is there an add column? Definitely there is an add column. Okay, so let's do an add column. Now it says drop the column contractor name. So it's kind of after a life, but can't do much about it. So let's pick it up again. How do you drop a column? So what do you think the obvious word is? Drop. Which column do you want to drop? I mean, again, I don't have much choice. I'm going to drop contractor on job. How can you do that? So it's a column that you need. I don't have an option. Okay, that's how you drop a column. Make sense? So now with drop column, does it make sense to give other properties? No, you're dropping the column. So why would you give properties like you were not null and this was your size? Silly. Logically, you're dropping it. You don't need it anymore. Why would you give the properties with it? You would just say drop column and the name of the column. And let's see if it works. I'm going to pick this up again. The description and the selection. That's my tool to check. And you can do it too. And I'm going to run it again. And in the last one, note, it hasn't dropped. Oh, I have an error. Can't drop, check that column key exists. Spelling is wrong. There, contractor. Therefore, it's better to copy and paste the names of the fields. Anyway, so my spelling was wrong and therefore I have an error. If you didn't copy mine with closed eyes, you should be okay. There. Look at the last one. Field is gone. The column has been dropped. So you've learned change, name and type and size. You've learned modify, type and size. Of course, the other properties also. And drop, dropping the column. Now let's do another one. Add. What if I wanted to add a new column? I should have that option of adding columns. Let's add it. Right? So it says now add new columns, start date, contractor phone, and estimated cost. Okay, let's add it. We know how to add columns. Let's try. Alter the table. Okay, what's the name of my table? PBL projects. Right, what do you want to do? You want to add some columns. And I've given you names. You can change them if you like. Now the type, you have to think intelligently. Start date should be a date. Estimated cost should be a decimal value. And contractor phone should be a string. So even if I have not mentioned the types, you will always know what to use. That's your job from day one. You should use the best fit columns types for your fields. So if nothing is given, you will have to make a decision and there will be marks for the decision. So if you forget unsigned with cost or you make phone a number, which is not a good fit anyway, I'll say, oh, you don't know what you're doing. So there will always be marks for good fit, always, without even saying. Okay, let's do it. So what is the verb? Add column. Okay, which columns do you want to add? Now, you can add columns at particular positions if you like. MySQL allows you to add a position at the first one. So you'll say that will be my first field. You will say, but you've already said that field sequence doesn't matter. Yeah, I know it doesn't matter when it displays. But in the database, if you want a field to be placed in the first position, you can say first, right? You also have the option of last, second, third, fourth, fifth, after, before in all other databases. But MySQL only gives you two options. You can use first if you like, and you can use after, nothing else. You can't say second, third, fourth. You cannot say last. You cannot say before. It's just how it is. It's not allowed. So if you wanted, though number was already in the first position, just so that you know, if you wanted to place something at the first position, you would just add first with it. There, it places it at the first position. That's how you say, put it in the first position. But number was already in the first position. So, I mean, I didn't have to change it, but that's how you would do it. Okay. Okay, let's do this now. Let's move forward to add the new columns. Okay, which columns do you want to add? Start date. What do you think should be the type of start date? You've done this before. What type should I use for start date? Date. Thanks. You have to help me out, guys. I am not sure how to work with it. Okay. Now, would you like it to be null? You'll say, oh, sometimes projects we don't know when they will start. We may make it null if we like. So that information will be given to you. Otherwise, you can make your own decisions. You'll say, oh, that field has to be not null. If you say, if the project has been taken but the start date has not yet been decided, maybe I just want to keep it null. Leave it as null. It's up to you. If nothing has been mentioned, I want to add another column. Right, and this other column, I want to add contractor phone. What is the best type for a phone number, guys? Int is one I'm hearing. Anybody else? Varchar is another one I'm hearing. Varchar is a better one, not an int. Why? Let's talk about it. You never do any math with phone numbers, do you? No. You don't say this number is greater than this number or add the two numbers. Now, when you don't want to do any math, don't go numbers. Why? Because numbers are a kind of a different type. You know what I mean? Like chars are easy to work with, they're just strings. And two, there are many string functions that can help with the phone number. For example, I want to say all those contractors who are in Barrie or neighboring areas. What can I get? I can get this substring, the first 3 digits, and use the substring function. But if it was a number, I would have to do math with it. I would have to divide it and so on. That's too much work. Two, also, you may like to, in your database, like to put dashes in your phone number, put the area code in brackets and so on. You'll have to consult your front end team to ask them, how are you taking the phone number from the user? And usually phone numbers are taken with area code dash, whatever dash, to make it easy, and with brackets. Not a rule, but yes, or it could be. So I wouldn't use a number for a phone number. Like I wouldn't use a number for your student ID. I would use a varchar. So it's a number, but it's such a huge number that I'll have to use a big int for it. And what's the use? No use at all. Like I won't do any math with your student ID ever. So you have to be careful, though a number may look like a number. It's not always, oh, you make it an int, right? And I don't think an int will work anyway because there are 10 digits, at least in Canadian numbers, which will not accommodate in an int type. So no numbers for phones, no numbers for student IDs. Just because it looks like a number doesn't mean it is a number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a char or a varchar. You can choose whatever you like. I'm going with the char because I'm going to count 3, 3, and 4 is 10, 2 dashes 12, and 2 brackets 14. I'm trying to keep that fun. But varchar is also good. There's nothing wrong with it. So if you just want to generally say varchar 15, that's good enough. If you want to say char 14, you are saying, oh, every phone number is of size 14. That's the format I'm using. It's not a rule. Okay. So I'm going to say char 14. If you want the phone to be not null, you can say not null with it. I do because there is no contractor on job now. The only information about the contractor I have is the contractor phone. So I better say not null. And just to show you the after, I'm going to place it after description of project. Remember that field description of project? I'm going to place it after that. So there was, instead of date coming after it, this will come after it. So you can change the position of any field or place it at a particular place by using either first or after a field. That's the only 2 options you have in MySQL. Nothing else. Other, as I said, other databases engines do have more options. Oracle has before, after, first, last, second, third, fourth, anything. It's not there, it's not there. Can't do much about it. Okay, so I've shown you the after just for the heck of it. And my third field that I want to add, notice I'm putting a comma after each of them. And the third field I want to add is estimated cost. Again, you can change it to a different field name if you like. Now let's talk estimated cost. Definitely should be a decimal. We've already said money is always exact. So just so that you know, why did I use 14 here? I'm going to say 999. 999 means a digit, okay? 999, 9999. That's the format for my phone number that I'm using. That's why I've used a character 14. Okay, just a comment for myself. If I look at my script years from now, and for any other user who's working in my project, not user, any other programmer who's working in my project knows why did she do that. So I definitely talked to the front end team. They said we are taking phone numbers in this format. I said okay, take it, and then I'll save it in the same format. Readability also. Putting it as a big number, difficult to read. Some people do it. I usually, whenever I write phone numbers, I'll put dashes in between. Easy to read. Okay. Okay. So no numbers, but varchar or char, whatever works for you. Now, definitely we need a comma too. It's money. So decimal for money, doesn't matter, it takes 16 types. Exact type. I need an exact type. I can't use float or double. I will use decimal or numeric. And you should always use decimal or numeric for money. 2 places after decimal, definitely, because we don't work with more than 2 places in money. Now, before will depend upon what kind of company is it. If it's a huge company with huge products, money will be big. If it's a medium company with medium, it will be small, like kind of. So I'm just going 8, 2. Just giving a rough, like you could use 10, 2. Depends. Like I'm just making a intelligent guess, right? And of course, don't forget, it's money, can be signed, should be unsigned. And if you like, oh, not null, no, yet hasn't been decided, but when you give money, you have to tell the estimated cost to your client before the project starts. So if you say it will be a not null field, sure, go ahead. These properties I will give to you because I'm just not leaving it to you in an exam, but here we are just talking. So I'm saying, okay, that is okay. And maybe yet it has not been decided. You'll say, I'll give it a default value of 0 just for the heck of it. Again, it's entirely up to you. I'm just showing you, it's like it was just as if you had written this statement in your create table command. Notice, it's just like a create table command. You write all these things in your create table command, don't you? You give the name of the field, you give the type, you give any other properties you want to give. So all I've done is I've added add column in front. New column gets added. So anything that is not null will not have a, like not null means you can't have a null value. If I have not said not null, like in date I haven't said not null, then you can put a null value. Let's again see if things have happened correctly. So description and that again at the end. I'm going to remove it from here and I have a description and select at the end. Let's see how it works. There, let's see. Okay. Project ID, description of project. The contractor phone has come after the description of the project and you didn't give it a default value. Phones do not have a default value. It cannot be null, so it hasn't put null in it. In dates, since it can be null, it has put null because I did not give it a value. An estimated cost, it made default 0 for everything. So please keep something in mind. I'm not adding new records, I'm adding new fields. When you add new fields, you have to be sure that they have some value that does not clash with your definition. So you can't say unique and all of these are, contractor phone is not unique. So when you add a definition, you be careful that you do the right thing. You just can't say unique and then it say, how is this unique? There is no values in it, and no values doesn't mean it is unique. It just means it's not unique. So in the assignment today, you will be asked to make a field unique. And if you wanted to make one, all you'll have to do is add unique here. No big deal at all. Like simply, it's just a definition, right? I could do it. But how will you ensure that it is unique? I leave it to you to do in the assignment. Okay? So hint, you can always set constraints or rules when you alter a table. You can say alter table, set a constraint that this field must be unique. Okay, but I'll leave it to you. You will have to figure it out yourself. So three fields added, everything looks fine. Now, since now we know add column, so you've learned add, change, modify, drop. Right? Now, suppose if you want to add a new primary key, you didn't have number and you wanted to add a new field. What do you think now that you know about it? What could you have done? So if a primary key did not exist and you wanted to add a new one, what would you do? You would say alter my table and do what? Add a column. Now that you know what add is. And you can add any column you like. I'm just going to just kind of copy this because it like kind of looks nice. I won't use the number, but if you want to add a new field as a primary key, all you do is this. You say add this column, project ID, it's an int, it's unsigned. And please see, I'm making it auto increment because I don't want to, like, if I say it's a primary key and I don't give it a value, it's going to bark on me. It says you are saying it's a primary key. None of the records have a value in it. What do I do with it? So what did I do? I was smart enough to make it auto increment. And now I'm okay. Right? So you have to be careful of what you're doing. So if I'm adding a new column and I want to make it a primary key, can I leave it empty? No. Remember what a primary key was? Unique and not null. So if I want to add a field, I'll have to take care of it. Let me show it to you what happens. So I'm going to change this. Number remains whatever it is. Okay. Number remains whatever it is. I'm going to run it again. Please notice. I got a new field, project ID. It starts with 1000 because I made it 1000 auto increment. Number I've left untouched. I could always drop it afterwards if I want it, and the rest remains the same. If for whatever reason I had not made it auto increment, see what will happen. I'm just going to remove it for a minute. The definition looks neat enough. It's an int, it's unsigned, it's a primary key. I'm going to get an error. It says 0 for the... It couldn't get it. It says, how can I add a column? And you're saying to make it the primary key, but there is... What do I put in it? So when you add a primary key, be smart enough to give it predefined values. And this is predefined value. I leave it to the system. It's a predefined value. Auto increment says you take care of it. So it took care of it. Okay. So when you add new fields, be very careful of how you're working with it. So for me, I didn't want to do this. I wanted to use numbers. So I'm going to comment this out and use this one. Actually, there is another one. Suppose a key already exists. Suppose a field with the correct definition and data already exists and can be made the primary key without any change at all. Even this situation can arise. For me, this is not the situation because my number didn't had 0, 0 into, which was not unique. So I couldn't have done this. I had no option either to add a new primary key or to change its definition. But sometimes it may happen that there is a field, everything is fine, it's unique, it's not null, but somebody just forgot to make it the primary, whoever was the programmer before. Then you have this option, you can do this. You have this option of altering the table and simply saying, make it the primary key. You didn't do anything, you just said, oh, the field already exists, make it the primary key. You have this option too. Do I have this option in my table? No. There is no field in my table that I can use as a primary key without any change at all. I can't use number. Why? Because 1, 2, 3, 4 is okay, but two projects at 0 and 0, which is non-unique, I can't do it. But if there is a candidate, suppose I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I was fine. Then I could have just said add primary key and I said make it the primary. So this is making a field a primary key without any other change. But there was no candidate in my table. Number wasn't there because it had 2 0 values and we've already said it should be. So since I did not have a candidate, I cannot use it. But you have an option. You can add a new column if you like. You can use a pre-existing key if you like. Or I have used a pre-existing one but with changes. I had to change it a little. Right? So I've said change the name of the number field and make it the primary key since it is a good candidate with changes. It's a good candidate with some changes. I had to do those changes myself. But if there is a candidate, then you don't have to do anything. You just say add primary key. Make it the primary key. So the add word is all. I mean, it would have been nice if they would have said set primary key, but I can change the syntax, right? So add says, oh, you're adding something new. You're only adding the property primary key to it. So that option is also there. So what do I do will depend upon what application you are working with. So I've given you all three options. Add a new key, make something that already exists without any change a primary key, or third, for me, I made a primary key of an existing field with some changes. I had to make some changes because it had a duplicate value of 0. But wherever I did a change, I was smart enough to use auto increment. Look at that. Because how else will I put values into it? The whole idea is that I don't want to go and type in values myself, create a new field. So I said, okay, create a new field for me and make it auto increment. Job done. I don't have to worry about it, right? So when you add properties, be careful. So for example, if you want to add unique to a field, you have to be careful that that field already has unique values. You just can't say unique and it will start working. right? So when do we do unique and so on? I'll leave that. That's the extra part that you do today. So keep in mind every assignment, though it's maybe only 2 marks sometimes, not more than 2, but in every assignment you will get something where you have to use your brains that I haven't done in class. So I mentioned it. And for the exam, I wanted to do the same thing, but one particular student is objecting hell bent. Why does she ask us something she doesn't teach? So I'm going to give you a practice question. You can do it, and then that's nothing new in the exam. Programmers don't know everything when they start working, keep in mind. And I can't teach you everything is the most important thing to remember. Yeah, but you have access to the manual. If I ask something new, you're allowed to use the manual. I know it is in the manual.
It's a long
you can search.
6,000.
No, you can search. You don't have to search the whole thing. Just search. So if I've given you a hint unique, you can type in unique and it will come.
Yeah, but still, it's a lot to learn.
But if there is only one question that you have to look into it, I'm not saying all
I'm just
questions.
saying if you want to fully understand SQL.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about understanding SQL. I'm only saying if there is one question that I haven't done in class, you should be able to look it up in the manual. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, of course, you can't learn everything. And of course, when you are on job, you have access to so many resources. And that's how you learn. So when you're doing the assignment, you have access to the internet. Right? That's the whole thing. You have access to the internet. So I say, okay, there is only one question that you have to look up. So the rest you can do in 20 minutes. Maybe the one question maybe will take extra 10 minutes. So you have to always be ready to look up, research. And definitely, you can always ask around when you're working. You can look at internet. And that's what you do. That's how you get your answers. So therefore, in the exam, I've said you can use the manual. There will be something that I haven't taught, but I've mentioned it. I'm going to ask you something on update with case. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to give you a practice assignment. It's up to you if you want to practice. I'm not marking it. I'm not doing anything. So people who want to do it will do it and get the answer differently. Okay. But yes, it is a big manual. Yes, on job, you will always have internet, which you now have when you do your assignments. Okay. Okay. So anything else? I think I've covered everything except something extra that I'll ask, and I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try it. I'm going to say the date is unique. Let's see, does it bark? It says it's unique. You haven't given me, and if you haven't said anything else, let's see what it says. It isn't saying anything at all with this unique, which is okay. That's perfectly fine. If I try to add a date now or update it, it's definitely going to bark if it's not unique. Okay, you will figure it out. I know how to do it, so I'm not going to show it, but you'll figure out on the question. Anything that needs to be asked? Anything that's not clear? So alter table allows you to change the name of the table, add new columns, modify existing columns, change existing columns, change the value of auto increment, change the type or the size or the name of the fields, add constraints if you like. So something like alter table, add constraint. I've done add primary key. That's a constraint. I'm adding a rule. I'm saying, oh, that field is a primary key. That is a rule. So that's another thing. You've seen it. You just have to see how to do it in unique. Okay. But that's adding a constraint. I'm saying, oh, primary key, this field is now a primary key. Constraint means a rule. That's what you're constraining it to be something. Okay. So that's another thing that can be done. I think I've covered everything in alter. Okay. So now your job. So I'm going to put your assignment up on Blackboard. So it's 1 o'clock. So 20 minutes for break and 45 minutes should be enough for that assignment. So that makes how much? 1 hour and 15 minutes. Let's discuss it at 2:35. Enough time, right? 2:35. Okay, let me put it on Blackboard. So you can take a break now and then start. It's up to you, but it will be ready for you in another 3 minutes. Yeah, why are you always late to class? I don't understand. Can I know the reason? You're always late to class. And then the problem is when you do your assignment, you don't know what's going on. And then you ask me and I can repeat the class. I cannot, right? So I have no clue. But anyway, I'll put that on.